Hangover Podcast.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Welcome, everybody. I'm David.
I'm Chris. And this is sponsored by that new car smell.
Oh, I love that smell. I really do. Honestly, I really do.
Speaking of new car smell, you had a lot of new car smell today.
I did. I went to, a car show today, the World of Wheels. And it was really, really cool. It was, if you've ever been to the Chicago Auto Show, it's great. It's honestly really, really cool. It's right around the Valentine's Day holiday. All new cars, though. And
even concept cars.
Yeah. Lots of concept cars.
All the cool ones they'll never make.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you get your mouth waters and then you're like, I'll never see that car. Like, what's with the 24-inch wheels I'll never see? But they put 15s on it and they ship it. Anyway, this was all classic and custom cars. So super, super cool. It was really, really neat. So really enjoyed that. Took lots of pictures today, posted those up to the account. So, if you're on Instagram, check out Beers and Gears, today. I posted some pictures up there today. Really, really cool.
And that's beers.gears.
Beers.and.gears. Yeah. Right. So check that out. Really, really neat stuff. So cool. That's that new car smell. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Honestly, they need to can that in like a spray form.
I you know what they have? Good. They have. So
is it real? Does it smell? Does it smell?
It's not. It's definitely not real.
Oh, well, yeah. Essence of leather.
But and I have that too.
So the woodwick candle, you just light it in your car.
I do. I use a lot of cleaning materials for my cars, right? And one of them is new car smell, and I have it. And I have leather too, but I use those. I love that you're like, they should make it. I'm like, they do.
I am not.
And I own it.
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. Shit.
Anyway, so what are we talking about today?
So Yuengling just came in the market.
Yuengling, the OG craft beer.
Yeah, as they want to say it, since 1829, apparently.
Been around a minute.
If you look at this can, though, so first off, when Yuengling first came in the market, maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, it was draft only. And cans started hitting just now. Stout's going to be a part of this one, apparently, as well.
He's our podcast buddy.
Now that we finally have the package here, Yuengling being touted as like the oldest brewery in the country. When you look at this can, it looks like, it's got the eagle on it, just like Anheuser-Busch.
Right.
It looks American as fuck.
It really does. Yeah. Only the word Yuengling, it doesn't feel very American.
It doesn't.
Yueng is not a very American word. Yuengling. I don't know.
It sounds like New England.
Yeah.
If you're drunk enough and you slur it.
Worcester. Worcestershire.
Worcestershire sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're starting off with the traditional lager.
Yep.
Being the traditional lager. When you think about lagers, it's usually not this dark. So
it is very dark.
More of an amber. Very malty, like very, very forward with malts.
It is very malty. It's great. It is really good though. I had one of these a couple days ago and having another one now, and it actually does say original amber beer on the can. So, they're not hiding it either. They're coming in amber forward.
So, it does say original amber beer. Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
But
it says Yuengling Company, Fort Worth, Texas. I actually thought they were out of the East Coast. It says Yuengling and Son Inc., Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
By the Yuengling Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Get your shit together.
They're kind of all over the place, aren't they?
What the fuck?
Okay. All right, well.
Regardless, I remember the first time I had Yuengling, I think I was in Florida. For the longest time, they were an East Coast only available until they made it their way all the way to Indiana, which just guys, what's another couple hundred, miles to make it into Illinois?
Yeah. So. I feel like, why would you go to Indiana and not come to Illinois? Like, if you could go to anywhere and then not come to Chicago. There's a whole lot of customers in Chicago.
I mean, not to like piss anybody off, but why would you go to Indiana?
Well, I always said, first of all, I love Indiana.
Indiana's not.
Yeah, I'm not down on Indiana, but I've always said, like Indiana is Illinois without Chicago, right? So, I mean,
You're not wrong.
That being fair, I do have some friends in Indiana, so I will, I'm sorry. Like I don't mean to tease you guys, but Indy in itself is actually a really cool city. But anyway,
I think that for the longest time, I think that Russian River out of California distributed only on the West Coast they just now made it into Las Vegas, but they also, I think they had distribution in Indiana for a while. And I'm like, again, you guys overshot Illinois.
Right.
How did you miss that?
You just kind of went over.
Here's the broadside. You missed it completely.
Just missed us, right? Yeah.
So I'm glad that, it's good that they're here. The first time I had it, I think it was probably, 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. I had it down in Florida. And I mean, honestly, I had it when I was golfing and I thought it was a great golf beer.
Absolutely.
It doesn't drink like a standard light lager because it's not, because it's an amber.
Yep.
And it's just a great beer overall. Now, my question, though, with Yuengling finally coming into the States, are we going to see this kind of as a zombie dust sort of situation? Whereas, like, when I had people coming into town from out of state, I was like, bring me a 24-pack of Yuengling cans.
Sure.
If now that we have it, the people that are, that were here that were raving about it, are they going to be as...
Will they actually buy it?
Right. Or are they going to buy it as consistently as they would have? Or is it going to be kind of like, oh, we got it. It's been a big thing for like a month and then it just kind of dies out.
It's interesting because you've got a couple things at play here, right? Like, first of all, is we've got it, so it's new. So will people buy it because it's new? Cool. The other thing is I feel like we've had a resurgence of lagers and sort of like easy drinking beers.
Yeah.
That people want more of that lately. So I feel like I've always got a lager in the fridge.
Especially with us, with garage beer.
Yep. Garage beer.
Cold snacks. There's always something easy drinking.
Even a Coors Light. Like, I've just always got something in the fridge, which, so that's another dimension to this, right? Like, so right. Like if it was something different, I don't always have zombie dust in the fridge.
Right.
Right. But I do always have a lager in the fridge of some sort. So that might make me have something like this in the fridge.
Well, especially since it's an amber lager.
Right.
And I think
it's a little bit different. Yeah.
I think it's only 4.5%, maybe 4.2, 4.5.
4.5. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something that you can totally crush, especially in the summertime. Like, you're going to sweat it out. So it's not that big of a deal. But I mean, I'm happy that it's here. And of course, you have all the people that are like, well, it's just Yuengling. It's just a lager. Nobody gives a shit about it. But like, I don't know, there's plenty of people that kind of give a shit about it.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great to see it in the lineup.
My question, though, is like, are people going to continue to give a shit about it down the road?
Yeah. Why did we just get it? Like, what changed? Do you know? Or like,
honestly, I don't know. I think that.
Like, what caused us to just all of a sudden recently get it over the last month?
Obviously, they've been servicing the East Coast for the longest time.
For a long time, yeah.
And I feel like back in 2022, 23, Yuengling started talking about coming into the Chicago market. I know that a lot of things usually get held up within distribution. Finding the right distribution deal, finding the right distribution partners, someone that's going to like be able to cover your territory as much as possible. So when Yuengling came in, they did sign with the Miller House. So they do have like a really, really big footprint, which is why you can go to pretty much any bar and find it on draft.
Okay.
I was at Tipsy Goat in Cary last night. They've got it on draft. You can go to any place in Dundee. They've got it on draft. Like places in the Chicagoland area, they've got this stuff everywhere.
Okay.
I went to Wings, etc., and they had it on draft. They even had this next beer that we're going to do on draft. Right. And I was like really, really surprised. But, it took a long time being a couple of weeks, because usually when there's a beer launch, you have it on draft, but you also have it in the stores. Whereas we just now saw package last week, and the beer's been in the market for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of surprising that it took that long to package, but my guess is that they were trying to figure out the best avenue for the distribution. And then when they found that, obviously they signed with one of the bigger ones. I mean, it's usually either Lakeshore, or Superior, which is the same company that does Bud Light and Budweiser, or you've got Euclid and the Miller House. And then, of course, they do like Coors Light and stuff too. So my guess is that they were trying to figure out which deal was going to be better, because I think that they were supposed to be here in 2024. And then finally we saw them late February of 2025.
Negotiations.
Probably.
Yeah. Business is business.
Holding guns to people's heads.
I get it. Okay. All right. One thing I was thinking about, so not too long ago, I mentioned this actually in the last podcast. My brother lives in Atlanta, and he had a cookout, and I was, thinking about beers to put into the cooler, because of course that's what they asked me to do when I was there.
Right? Well, you're the expert.
I wasn't in charge of food, right? So they're like, hey, we got a lot of people coming. Can you get some beers, right? And so I was thinking about beers to put into the cooler, and I was, I didn't want to, I had the challenge, right? Like I don't want to go too deep down the craft beer path where all of a sudden I've got people here who are uncomfortable with what I've selected and don't know what to pick out of the cooler that I've just given them, right?
The age-old problem.
There you go. Right, exactly. Like you want people that are not comfortable, not necessarily deep into craft beer, to feel comfortable to grab something out of there and drink it, because they don't maybe understand the difference between an IPA and an amber and a porter and I don't know, whatever's in there. They don't know the difference. They just want to grab a beer, right? And so Yuengling was one of the beers that I grabbed to put in there, because I felt like that's a flavored beer that people are going to be cool with. And if you're into craft beer, great. If you're not, great. It's kind of going to cross both.
Yeah, for sure.
Both boundaries there.
And it's only 4.5%.
And in Atlanta, I had access to it. Right?
And it's hot. It's hot down there.
There you go. And so I just that was one of the ones that I threw in there last summer. And that was a really good beer for that. And so it kind of comes down to, I was excited to have it in this market, because I felt like that's one of those crossover beers that's just really nice for people that, they can have, a craft beer guy's going to get it, and people that aren't into craft beer, they're also going to dig it, Right. So I like that.
And it could be a good stepping stone beer.
Yeah.
Being a lager, 4.5%, but it's an amber, but it's not overly hoppy. It's more malt forward. It's going to be something that
you're not going to wreck somebody's palate with this. It's a little sweet.
Not at all. And it's approachable. That's the beautiful thing. You're not going to have someone be like, well, what do you got in there? Well, I got Coors Light, or I got Bourbon County. And I'm like, well, got anything else? And so this is kind
of. I got a Devil Dancer. You like those?
Shit. 15%.
15% triple IPA.
Straight up hop oil.
It's going to be great.
It's going to fuck you up.
You ever have a beer before?
Sit down. Yeah. Thinking back to Gateway or Stepping Stone beers, one of mine was Sam Adams.
Right. Yeah.
And that was,
again, really solid, great crossover beer.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it wasn't something super light and refreshing like MGD or a Miller Lite or Coors Light or whatever. But it also wasn't something that was super heavy like a porter or a stout or something. I mean, it was a good, solid craft beer. And it was the Boston Lager, which this, I would have to say, now is almost equivalent. Now, the Boston Lager is a little bit higher in ABV, I believe, and it also is more hoppy. There's more character to it than this.
Sure.
Back in the day, people were like, do you like craft beer? And they're like, oh, I don't really like IPAs. Or they're like, I don't like Guinness.
Well, none of those things actually work nowadays. You can't say things like, I don't like IPA.
Exactly, because everybody likes IPAs now because of the milkshakes.
What's an IPA nowadays?
Depends on who you talk to, I guess. But yeah, this I feel like being an amber lager, especially at 4.5%. Ambers, if you think about the breweries that actually make ambers now, I mean, Bell's, I think, is one of the only ones that comes to mind. And theirs is fairly hoppy, but it's not quite like a hoppy red ale or a hoppy red IPA. But it's definitely more of a robust beer that I would say isn't as refreshing as the Yuengling lager.
I agree.
And I also love the fact that Yuengling's traditional flagship lager is an amber. Whereas you go into a lot of other breweries, a lot of other brands and labels, their flagship beer is something that's like super light, super crushable, but it still tastes like almost nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas like Yuengling comes out, and they do have a black and tan. They've got a black and tan. They've got a traditional lager light. Used to have the Hershey's chocolate porter, which was a major banger.
That's a good beer.
Unfortunately, I think they stopped doing that as of last year.
It was just a fun beer, though.
It was.
Just a fun beer.
Oh, and I
don't know if it, like you say, it's a banger, but like it was just a fun beer. It was just a goofy kind of.
When you think about a chocolate porter,
just a fun beer.
It was a great beer.
Yeah.
I mean, I would actually call it a banger because like it had that milk chocolate note to it.
Yeah.
But it still very much retained its porter beer quality.
But I guess what I mean though is like more of it's like a little bit of a party trick. It was just sort of it's not the kind of beer you drink every day. It's just kind of a fun beer. Like you break it out with some friends and you're like, dude, check this out.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, it's just fun.
And it's once a year. It's not like it's all the time. It's just a
really fun beer. Like I really enjoyed it. Every time we would open it, I would just be like, this is cool, you know?
And it tasted great.
It was really, really good. Yeah. Yeah.
But also being from Pottsville, Pennsylvania, you got Hershey, Pennsylvania. Like, so Hershey obviously made sense. Now, I don't know exactly what happened or what like bad blood happened between the two of them that they stopped doing it. But at this point in time, I really don't care.
Right.
So I'm not going to go down that road.
Yeah, there's great beers. Like, I mean, I remember lots of great beers that have come and gone over the years. It's fine. But we've got this one now.
Yeah. So this is their light beer, and it not to be confused with traditional lager light or their light lager.
Right.
This is their light beer called Flight. Now, not a lot of people know about this one. I think a lot of people on the shelves, or when you walk in and you see pallets of this, people are like, well, I don't know that, because they really only know the traditional lager.
Sure. And there is the light lager too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Flight's a 4.2%. I mean, it's almost like it's not 55 calories. It's 95 calories, 2.6 carbs. So they're definitely trying to compete with the whole
the Mick
Ultras and stuff like that.
Which is honestly everybody is right now too.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many of this kind of beer coming out right now.
And again, resurgence of lagers and beer flavored beers.
And honestly, I'm fine with it too. Like I enjoy these kind of beers.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it.
Like I think it's great.
And the beautiful thing too is, since they're technically like the original craft brewery, they're not original craft prices at locations. So like if there's like a special on domestic drafts, or like $2 for a pint, or there's $10 for a pitcher, Yuengling, especially is because they're a part of the Miller household, it's still technically domestic. So you could go, and instead of like getting Bud Miller or Coors, you can get a pitcher of Yuengling lager or Flight, and still pay whatever those prices are going to be that are.
Do you know what I paid for a can of beer last night at the United Center?
$12.
It was more than that. It was a lot of money, dude.
So wait a minute. So you went to Disturbed, Disturbed, Seven Dust,
Three Days Grace. Yeah.
And so you're at the United Center, which is the home of the Hawks and the Bulls for those that aren't.
Yeah, if you're not from Chicago.
And generally, I think the last time we went to a Hawks game, I remember I went to the self-serve.
Yeah.
Because it's easy in, easy out. Kind of like the Amazon Fresh. I mean, actually, I think it is an Amazon Fresh thing. Like,
I don't know if it is actually, but it's the same concept.
Okay.
It's the same kind of thing.
So there's some dude like in a corner, like just typing down everything that you're picking.
Right. Watching you on a camera, like everything you grab, right? Yeah, I don't know.
So I think I want to say that I was paying $10 to $12 per can, which they were big cans though. It's not like you're buying
It was like $17.
$17. What type of beer?
I got a 312. A couple of 312.
$17 for a 312.
Yeah,
that's something you'd slap your mom for. Like that's highway
crazy.
robbery.
It was crazy money, dude. It was crazy money.
$17 for a 312. Was it a 24-ounce can?
It was a big can.
So it's $17 for two 12-ounce beers, which is still ridiculous.
It was a lot of money. And I'm actually not like, first of all, I'm into craft beer. So I'm okay with spending money on beer. Like clearly.
Yes.
Clearly.
But it's got to be the right beer.
But like I'm not the kind of guy who complains about spending money on beer.
True.
right? Just in general.
But again, it's got to be the right
I'm not
beer.
that guy that's like, this beer's too expensive. I'm not that guy generally, but like, wow. I was like, that is a lot of money for a beer.
Especially, I mean, well, and when you're talking Goose Island
Right.
makes Bourbon County, and some of their, like, the Bourbon County regulars spend somewhere between $10 to $12.
I mean, I just went into Benny's the other day, and they've got like a stack of prop on the floor.
I saw that. It was like six cases.
I almost sent you guys like a picture. Like I was like, it's a stack of prop.
But that's the prop that nobody wants.
I know. But I was actually thinking to myself as I looked at that stack of prop, I'm like, I almost could have got a prop for what I paid for that 312. I almost could have got a bottle of prop for that same price. It's not the same. It's not the same. No. I mean, the prop's, I think 25 or 29 or something like that. But I mean, in any case, it was a lot for a beer. And I was just like, my God, that's a lot of money for a 312.
It is.
It's a lot of money.
Then you have to kind of like step back and think about the relativity. Like, it's all relative when you're talking about those types of beers. Because if you walked into a bar and they said, you know, here's a pour of Black Tuesday, or here's a pour of like Bourbon County vanilla, and it was $15, you'd be like, all right, bourbon barrel aged for a year, blended vanilla, whatever. That makes some sense. Don't get me wrong, it's still fucking astronomically
it's still
expensive.
$15 or whatever, but for whatever,
$17 for a 312.
Yeah, I know. It was wild. I mean, granted, I'm used to paying a lot when I'm, you know, at a sporting event or a concert or something, you know, but it just really, for whatever reason, yesterday it struck me as a lot. I had a reaction. You know what I mean? I mean, I was just like, okay, so I got some chicken tenders and a 312. That's $45. I'm like, wow,
that's the beer.
That's a lot of money.
So much money.
For not that much food and beer.
Right. 6 tenders, 24 ounces of beer, and it's 312.
Like, that is not a gourmet meal. No, and I just spent a lot of money on that.
For a gourmet price.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're back to Yuengling. All right, so... I don't know. Flight. So 2.6 carbs, 95 calories, 4.2%.
It's a diet beer.
Yeah. All right.
Honestly, it's super crisp. For those that don't know what it is or haven't tried it yet. Very crisp, very light. Not too light though.
So it's not malty. So this one's not malty. So
yeah, it's a little bit more of a hop character. It's not an amber, obviously. You can see
it's not an amber, right? So you can see the color's lighter. So now we're getting into a more crisp beer, which I would argue maybe is a little more appropriate for summertime.
Absolutely.
So as the weather warms up and you're doing your summertime activities, this might be a better beer.
Yeah,
for summertime.
Have it in your cooler for the party.
Yeah. Plus, this can shape is really nice for the pocket.
It is, and they're obviously gonna go.
You can wear them like Chewbacca on a vest, or like on a belt or something. I don't know.
Well, these are definitely. I mean,
like shotgun shells.
This big shotgun shell. I mean, you could shotgun these.
Well, Krupa could, but yeah,
he probably would too.
He would. He probably has.
This is definitely the can shape though of pretty much most of the seltzers that are out now.
Yeah, I mean, Mick Ultra actually has a can pretty much exactly the same shape, but yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it's
good though. It's really good.
It's good beer. It's very light, very flight beer, light beer.
Yep.
Very fantastic.
Yeah, I'm digging it.
Crispy. It's crisp. It's savory. It's refreshing. Not quite Tic Tacs though.
What did we say in the last podcast? We weren't going to do a crispy Pilsner.
Well, we said if you wanted to know about how crispy a Pilsner was, you might not get that here, or you might get
that here.
Or we might
do a whole podcast about it. And here we are.
I don't know if this is technically a Pilsner, but it's honestly, does have a little bit of biscuit, a little bit of cracker in there.
I get a little cracker.
It's does have a little bit of a hop bite to it, which is kind of nice especially because the original amber did not have as much of a hop note to it, even though, I mean, they were prevalent. It also looks sleek. I feel like these look more like tennis balls. Like you got a small can of like golf balls or something.
Well, there's wings on it.
Yeah. It just does not. It doesn't read to me.
It's like the Top Gun of beers.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's marketing. They should pay you for that.
Oh,
Looking for sponsors.
okay. See.
Other than the new car smell.
Yes. Yeah. GBM Hangover sponsored by Top Gun Maverick.
Top Flight beers. Top Gun Maverick 2.
It'd be nice to get sponsored by someone instead of sued by someone. Ka-chow.
Ka-chow.
You know?
Yeah.
Like let's have less attorneys and more like sponsors.
And if we do have attorneys, hopefully they're working in our direction.
That would be better. Yeah, that would be better.
So did you have a chance to try this before tonight, or is this your first foray?
So this actually is my first one of the flight.
Okay.
I have the light lager at home. So I did have the light lager, and I had the traditional lager. And I had them, on over an evening. And I will say the light lager is really good. I enjoyed that one too.
Okay.
And I did have a few of those. And actually, I'm not upset about the whole concept of reduced calories, reduced carbs, reduced,
I don't know.
as I'm just crushing beers, like when I'm just feel like having a beer.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I think, we've talked about this before. Mick Culture is not my favorite beer.
No.
And I really just don't enjoy the taste. I don't.
Is there a taste?
I'm not. I'm not against the concept of it. I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to have a whole.
Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, I used to be very aggressively against the idea of it, but now I'm not. I think, but now I'm not, and I'm okay with it. So I'm fine with a light beer nowadays, and I'll crush, Coors Lights and even these flights or the light lagers or whatever. But yeah, I don't dislike them, especially if I've had a day. If I've already had a day and I'm kind of at the end of my day, then I will absolutely reach for a light beer.
Well, it's when you're looking for a beer flavor.
And I'm just looking for a beer at that point. And I just want to have a beer, and I don't, I'm already kind of where I want to be. And I kind of don't want to just I don't want any more stouts. I don't want any more huge beers. I just really just want to I just want something that tastes good. And I just want to hang out. And I just kind of want to be where I'm at. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, and you can have this with dinner too.
Right. Absolutely. Or lunch even,
or,
beer with tacos or whatever. Right. It's a great beer for almost any time. Really.
7 a.m.
Oh, 7 a.m. I mean, yes, but
you could.
But I don't endorse it.
We might have a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always just crack one of these open, draw a bath, and just listen to Yanni.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who believe in the, cold beer, hot shower.
Have you ever?
I have.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, the trick though for me is that I don't necessarily open a beer before noon. So I'm not a beer before noon kind of guy. So, right. I mean, there are exceptions, right? Like we've talked about the KBS with breakfast.
KBS breakfast. We need to do that.
Breakfast is great, and even there's even calls reasons to have BCS on a Black Friday.
Yeah.
Sometimes BCS is called for, you know what I mean?
At certain tappings, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. It's sometimes it just needs to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need that warm feeling before noon. So I get it. But but in general, I don't drink a lot of beer before noon.
Right.
And noon's kind of my sort of now it's afternoon. You know what I mean? So, so typically what happens is I do my showers before noon. So usually those two things kind of don't
line up,
overlap,
sure.
Which is usually the issue for me. So I'm not against it though, and it has happened. But
the shower beer has more so came around when you're taking a shower, getting ready to go out. Mm-hmm. And some people will choose to do that after a day of work or whatever before going out in the evening.
A lot of people choose to do showers at the end of the day versus the beginning of the day. Mm-hmm. And I get that. That's a personal preference, right?
So at that point in time, shower beers make sense.
Yep.
I'm not necessarily cracking open a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning, getting in the shower, being like, what are we doing today?
Exactly. I'm about to go to work.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm definitely a coffee in the shower kind of dude, but I don't know about a beer in the shower kind of dude.
But of course, then you're going warm, which is the different experience, which is also great.
Also great.
It's very relaxing.
Just a different vibe.
Yeah. Just keep it away from the spigot.
I don't want watery coffee.
You just go in there with instant coffee and just hold it under there. Yum.
Yeah, I don't have any instant coffee either. So I do that when I end up going to Europe. I have a lot of instant coffee. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you actually mix it with water? I mean, I just take it by the spoonful and.
Do you just yeah?
Let's just get on with it.
It's just black mouth from all the powdered coffee you've been eating.
What's wrong with your teeth? What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is fine. This is just fine. Yeah, I've just been eating powdered coffee all morning.
For sure. Yeah. Folgers, just a shitty spoonful every morning. Yummy.
Yep.
God damn, that would be awful.
No, I find when I go to some places in Europe, they either have the instant coffee or they have a lot of tea.
Oh yeah, fuck tea.
I'm kind of like Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
he's like, I thought I'd hate tea. You know what? I was right.
Yeah. It tastes terrible.
I feel like it's just sort of watery coffee in a way.
It is.
I actually don't hate tea, to be honest. But as a replacement to coffee, no, exactly. It's different. It's just different. I don't hate tea.
If you really want to hate your life, you can switch out your morning coffee with tea.
Yes.
Awful. Exactly. Terrible idea.
It's just a terrible idea. I like tea, but don't replace your.
That's how serial killers are born.
Just add it to your life.
Yeah, it's a repertoire
in a different way.
Afternoon,
in addition to.
See, I have a thing where I drink coffee until noon, and because the half-life of caffeine is about 12 hours.
Okay.
And so if you continue to drink caffeine and coffee past noon, now you're running into the fact that it's going to still be in your system at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And that's probably why most people have a hard time.
Makes me realize I should probably start up around 10.
Yeah.
In the morning or something like that.
Like that way.
But yeah, usually noon's, 11, kind of my cutoff.
Yeah.
I'm solid all the way until like 11.
Yeah.
And then I flip to water.
Exactly. Water. And then 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock rolls around, depending on what time you get off work. Then it's time for a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just, I'll have 3 beers, 6 whiskeys. And then I'll pass out around 8.
And that's a day. So then the next morning, wake up, shower beer at 8.
Shower beer at 8. Then you get to your coffee.
You might have a problem.
Maybe a little bit.
As long as you're highly functioning.
There should be someone you should talk to.
It's me. And it's a podcast. And it's okay.
It sure is.
There's no judgment. So Yuengling.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It is good stuff.
It's good. I'm glad it's here.
And I hope people also kind of keep it, in their fridges and kind of glom onto it. I hope it's not a flash in the pan. And honestly, I'm actually interested to see what else we could see from them, because for the longest time, it's only been the light lager or the lager, because I didn't even know flight was a thing until they finally made it to market.
Yeah, the flight is fun. Actually, it's weird to say, but I feel like I might drink more of that than the other one.
Right.
Than the regular. But anyway, I could see them both having a place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is great. I guess that brings us to the end of this particular podcast. So we should remind people, like and subscribe. We didn't do that last time, so please do.
Like, subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts.
YouTube. Yep.
If you want to find us individually on Instagram, I'm Hardcore Craft Beer.
Beers and Gears with the dots.
With the dots.
Beers, and gears. Thanks for watching and listening and all of that stuff. And we'll talk to you next time.